We're good.
I think we're ready.
All right, we got 4 o'clock. I'll call the meeting to order. Roll call, please.
Cindy Fox Griffey, Debbie Haley, Matt Johannesson,
Here.
Scott Kochmeyer,
Here.
Ian Coop,
Here.
Rick Masterson, Brian Fundman,
Here.
Dick Ruskar, Robert Schmidt,
Here.
Mike Steineger,
Here.
James Sugden.
Here.
I know we had 2 sets of minutes emailed out for August 24th and September 12th.
Motion to approve the minutes.
Second. Any discussion or corrections? Hearing none. All those in favor, approve by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, we'll accept the minutes. Thank you. At this time, we would open public comment.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, this is Arnie Dinoff. I'd like to speak.
Proceed.
Okay. Good afternoon, members of the County Road Board. My name is Arnie C. Dinoff, County Public Advocate. And I wanted to talk about the TIP projects. First of all, the Garden Prairie project on Stump Road. There's a lot of controversy at the Board of Aldermen meetings from residents that live on Stump Road in the adjoining neighborhood. They're going to fight the right-of-way issue. And I believe that the $1,017,524 may be in jeopardy. So I just wanted to bring that to the attention of the board members. The second issue is the City of New Melly, the Forestall Road Improvement Project. I'm against the project and the expenditure of $2,180,000. If you approve and are moving forward, I would request that you put the trail path back in the project, as it has little to no additional expense. In the city of O'Fallon, the West Terra alignment, it's a total waste of $1,440,000 for phase 1. It's little to no improvements to decrease traffic and make a better intersection. In the city of St. Charles, the Frenchtown Main Street extension is a total waste. It's a corporate greed of money and time and effort. There's no investment by the developer at the present time. There's no developer agreement in place. We don't know exactly how many jobs might be created, and we don't know what the return on investment, if any, would take place. There's $30 million of half-cent sales tax. We as voters did not approve, by voter approval, the use of these funds for economic development. In the city of St. Peters, Markwood Trails Drive reconstruction, this is a subdivision in Neighborhood Street. I'm opposed to spending $306,000 plus other funding sources. It really should be up to the city of St. Peters to pay with that for local tax monies. There's many questions about the $8,901,000 in the economic development line and another $2 million in 2023. Again, we as voters never approved economic development funds to be used from the half-cent sales tax. The Gateway Greenlight project for 2022, I'm opposed to $6 million expenditure, and I'm exposed in 2023, 2024, 2025, $2.5 million overall. This is a budget of $96 million. It's nothing to sneeze at. I just came from the veto session of the Missouri House of Representatives and the state Senate, where there was a movement to try to get $3 million to build a hangar at St. Charles County Smart Airport Field. I'm opposed to that because it's a airport for millionaires and it really doesn't benefit anybody or generate any jobs or economic development. In terms of the current project, you'll hear from certain cities in the county. I'd like to hear in particular about the overruns, inflation costs, fuel costs, supply increases, delay costs, and labor shortage issues that the county or the local area is paying for tax dollars. Those are my comments, Mr. Chairman, and I appreciate everybody hearing me.
Thank you. Any additional public comment?
Yes. Tony Beth.
Before I get started, I would just like to say, I agree with a lot of what Mr. Dinoff just had to say. When you see literature about the County Growth Board, the two words that you will never see in any of that literature is economic development. Never, nowhere, anywhere. Roads, transportation, jobs, blah, 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 infrastructure, all the keywords. Two words you'll never see is economic development. It's the dirty little secret that this little slush fund is starting to be used for. And I agree with them about the streets of St. Charles, or the, what's it called, Frenchtown? Where's Jim Unger at? Where's the owner of the property? Where's his investment? All that whole investment is on one person's property. Well, I think the majority of that investment is on one person's property. Where is that person's algorithm on what he's gonna throw into the equation? Where's that at? Where is Jim Unger? Why are we doing all this for one man's property who's refused to improve his property over decades? I've been down on Main Street for, it'll be 25 years in May. I've heard project after project at the Foundry, ACF, ARI now. Project after project. We're here to talk about River Point today. I'll be as brief as possible. I won't waste your time. So the city turned in an application for River Point. And on that application, it was asked of them, it said, state all public financing, all public financing. And the city came back with the financing for this project is $5 million from the state, another $1 million from the state, and $7 million from the county road. And it says there's some other things that we're planning on getting. And it also goes on to state at the end of the application, I didn't bring it with me. Hello. Goes on to state if the city is to seek additional public financing for River Point, the application of the contract is terminated. It's very clear, plain language, not ambiguous. So here's some of the information I got, Freedom of Information Act, and I got some emails. I left sitting right over there. Give me 1 second, folks. Excuse me, real quick, sorry. All members of the city, as they're dealing with Clayco. So here's what happened. This project was with the city of St. Charles, and they were going to be the developer starting in March of 2020 when this application went through with the County Road Board. And this is what was taken from the River Point website on April 28th. Over 100 acres of riverfront development, select parcels, pad ready. New 40-acre master plan development located blah, 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 blah. Property to be delivered in a pad ready condition with public parking, garages, primary roads, utilities in place. That was April 28th. So here's what happened back in November. 5 months prior to that, the entire deal was sold to Clayco. The deal was never even for sale. If you went to the River Point website, you would never even know it was for sale. And Clayco had bought it, signed a sale contract on it 5 months prior to what it said on their website. They didn't even tell people Clayco bought it. They were trying to tell people it was still parcel pad ready and that the city was still the developer. And the county road board is into this for $7 million. And so what happened was, for purchaser's completion of the project, including without limitation, $4.55 million from St. Charles County Road Board Fund for transportation and infrastructure, of which $980,000 has been spent to date, and $3.5 million remains. $5 million from the governor's cost share program, of which $2.9 million has been spent, $2 million remains. $1 million from the Missouri Department of Natural Resources, of which $979,000 has been spent. They gave all the remaining money of the county road board to Clayco. Clayco got to spend the county road board money. They got to spend the $5 million on the governor's cost share. They got to spend the $1 million from the Department of Natural Resources. And they sold the property without ever telling anyone it was for sale. Back in November. Sold the property, but they never told anyone it was for sale. So unless you were smoking cigars and drinking scotch with Mayor Dan in the basement, you didn't even know it was for sale. You certainly never knew you were going to throw on the county road board money and the state money on top of it. So then listen to this. This is what happens next. So in March, Mayor Dan and his cohorts come up with a cost reimbursement agreement with Clayco. After the deal was already signed. Listen to this. The deal was already signed. The I's were dotted, the T's were crossed. And then the city throws this on top of it. A cost reimbursement agreement between the city of St. Charles and River Point Master Developer for the reimbursement by the city to RMD of certain costs incurred by Clayco in the development of Lot A of River Point Block 100 Plat 2 is approved. This cost reimbursement agreement shall be substantially the same, blah, blah. It was $6.2 million. And it was for chicken and pickle. It's one lot. Lot A of River Point Block 100 Plat 2. They're going to spend $6.2 million on chicken and pickle to come to town. It's only like a 30,000 square foot establishment on the records. They signed an agreement with Clayco. And then after the fact, pumped them $6.2 million on top. That'd be like selling your house and throwing in new kitchen, bathrooms, and hey, swimming pool and bag? We got your bag. Huh? I've never heard of a deal like this. So then it even gets dicier. Listen to this. So here's the road board thing. So listen to what they do after that. The city signs a executive order by Mayor Dan. Executive order dated March 1st of 2022. The city desires to enter into a cost reimbursement agreement pertaining to Lot A of River Point 100 Plat 2 with River Point Master Developer LLC for the development of a chicken and pickle project in the River Point development. Blah, 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 6.2 million. This executive order, you know why it was written? Because they didn't bid the project. They didn't put it out for open bids. They gave it to Clayco without bidding the project. So Clayco just got pumped $6.2 million in taxpayer dollars from Prop P of all places, which is supposed to be for stormwater, which passed back in 2016, went into effect in January 17. We've been paying on this tax for 5 years. Now they give $6.2 million of it to Clayco with no bids, none, 0 bids. Executive order, we don't need to bid this project. They said they're in too much of a hurry. They've been on this since 2008, and you can't put a $6.2 million project out for bids for chicken and pickle? Who's chicken and pickle anyway? So here's a couple, I did some Freedom of Information Act. Here's a couple other things that are going on behind the scenes. This is Brad, Temmie, Jeff and Natasha at Clayco, a spreadsheet. Phase 3 represents 35% of the overall $7 million grant, or $2.45 million. There is no businesses in phase 3. It's an apartment complex and townhomes. It's 450 units on 18 acres, which is a decent density. You're talking what, 20 to 30 per acre. And there are no businesses in phase 3. It's nothing but an apartment complex and townhomes. Listen to this one. It says right here that the city was supposed to tell the county road board about all government money. Transportation district, neighborhood improvement, community improvement districts, all of the above. Listen to this. It's on the scopes of work for the data tab. Currently estimating at around 41 million, but as we discussed, the NID will be scope based and not dollar based. We're going to do the work whatever it costs. Here's one I found. This is Larry Dabrowski, Mike Klinghammer, Adam Glozier, Brad Temmie. City, based on what we, Brad, just went through, here are the next steps to getting this done. City to confirm with state and county that CRG can do the work and the incentive money can be used to pay for it. What's the incentive money? Nobody said anything about that on the application. Here's one. Attach Mr. Brooks and Director Dabrowski, Brad Temmie, Lawrence Dabrowski, River Point Steamboat Museum. Here are 2 project sheets for submission to the legislature for funding. No clue what that is. The design of the project is under contract with CMT, who has begun their work. The federal funds for construction are in federal fiscal year 2023. Our schedules to have it bid in October when the funds become available, have it closed out with MoDOT. Where does it say anything about federal funds in this application? Here's one, Transportation Development District. TDD resolutions have been prepared for the next, this was dated December 2, 2021. Dan Mann, Larry Dabrowski, Adam Glozier, Mike Klinghammer, Hageman, Marcus, Tegetoff. TDP resolutions have been prepared for the next council meeting. After that, the process will be governed by the speed of the circuit court to approve the TDD. I didn't see anything about a transportation development district. Here's one. This is interesting. November 1, 2021. Adam Glozier, Mike Klinghammer, Brad Temmie, Larry Dabrowski. TIF eligible expenses, River Point TIF. I didn't get the attachment. All I'm asking, folks, listen to what they signed in the contract with Clayco. This is in the contract dated, I think, in November. The city shall, including without limitation, help with approvals of development incentives, the creation of special taxing districts, example, community improvement district, transportation development district, neighborhood improvement district, the approval of a sales tax exemption under Chapter 100 of the Missouri Revised Statutes, bond issuances, tax abatements, and tax credits in such form and amounts deemed necessary by purchaser in its sole discretion. So at Clayco's sole discretion, the city has already agreed to all this.
So the city can agree to what they want to. They still have to do with their contract with the county.
Correct. And their
Our relationship is with the city of St. Charles, nothing to do with Clayco. Now, again, what Clayco does, what they allow them to do, they have to live with it.
And I agree with you wholeheartedly, Mr. Johansson. So my question here today is as simple as this. On their application, which I have right here, I find me. On their application that they filled out, the county road board application is your deal with them. Your deal. County road boards deal with the city. This has nothing to do with Clayco. identify all forms of public financing for which the applicant is applying or has been approved, including but not limited to special taxing districts, tax credits, state and or local tax abatements, and other public incentives. The city's response, this was February of 2020, when they filled the application out with the county road board for the contract with the county road board of the city, nothing to do with Clayco. Current funding for the project includes $5 million from Missouri Governor's cost share, $1 million in state appropriations. Additionally, Corps of Engineers provided $1 million in funding for the hydraulic analysis and planning for the project. Additional applications are pending or forthcoming through United States Department of Transportation build, which they did not get. That was the 25 million they didn't get. The federal government told them, no, you're not getting on this team. Missouri DNR Recreational Trail Program with Missouri Department of Transportation. All I'm asking. Oh, there was another 1.5 million they threw in for Crystal Creek stabilization on Clayco's property. Because it ain't the city's property anymore. So all I'm asking, real simple. It says this application, the applicant further acknowledges that if it should elect to pursue other public financing, that's fine, go for it. That election terminates this application and any approval of it, and shall require its resubmission with disclosure of the additional public financing sought. That's all I'm asking. All I'm asking, take a little simple vote. Hey, should we make the city write all this down? That's all I'm asking. Transparency in government. If the city's gonna get all these incentives, if the city's gonna guarantee Clayco these incentives, which they did. City guaranteed Clayco they're getting these incentives and they're gonna do everything in their power to get them to them. They have to at this point. Then that needs to be written down and that needs to be made part of the record.
I think the county's job now is to look at the contract and make sure that, we're not lawyers, but I think the county council should review the contract, the contract between the county and the city.
Correct. That's what I'm talking about. I got the contract right here.
We're just a recommending body. The county council has to approve.
I understand that.
All we
But you could recommend to them, hey, look, I've heard the story and there's definitely more to this than. How hard is it for them to fill out an application?
But they have to be in sync with whatever the contract says.
They're not.
Well,
Because this is-
then the county should have a problem with it.
Here, it was dated 2/10/20. This is Dan Borgmeyer's signature on the contract. That's the last.
That's not the,
I'm not saying
that's
there's,
the application.
I'm not saying there's not a contract. They need to live up to the contract we have.
And we are,
And
and we
again-
have paid nothing. We are looking at this. I don't want to sit here and dwell on this.
We haven't funded any money.
But nothing has been spent. We are
Well,
making
we
sure
can
that
find whether the county put money out or not yet.
Whoa. We are making sure, what? Because the last time I spoke with whoever from the county road board, they told me, no, this deal right here that they're doing is very similar to what they proposed. And so we're done looking into it.
It's contractual now. That's the application. There is a contract
Yeah,
between the county and the city. Okay,
I'm telling you, I got it.
okay, well, no, it exists
I know it. I got a copy of it.
and that's fine. And that's the county's job.
The
Believe me.
county's not doing their job, all right?
Well, that's their problem, not me. It's
Well, but
we do not,
Well, you advise the county. You can tell the county, hey, you're not doing your job.
we're not lawyers.
I understand that, but that's pretty plain English.
In your opinion, maybe.
Well,
Whoa. You're saying that wasn't plain English?
we haven't funded anything. I'm sure we're gonna look at it.
No, you haven't looked at it. Look, Steve.
It's not the county road board's job to look at it, okay?
It's your job to recommend someone to look at it, and that's all I'm asking that you do.
No.
It is your job to recommend someone to look at it.
We recommended projects to the county.
When was the last time you read the statute? Well, I'm asking, because I just read the statute, and it says a lot more than that.
And that's up to the lawyers to determine, not us.
So you can't have an opinion.
We can have an opinion, but that's all.
Okay, what's your opinion about this? Now's a good time to talk about it during public comment at county road board meeting, because you can't do this at a county council meeting. This is the time. Does anybody have an opinion on this?
Why do you say you can't do it at the county council meeting?
You can't do back and forth conversation.
Oh,
Yeah, absolutely not.
You only get to make comments that.
So does anybody have an opinion?
That are public.
Does anybody want to hear more about this project? Because that was just till March. I don't have all the rest of the emails till August or September. Those are coming. It looks like you guys got involved in like the county road board got involved in a project that's funny. And I don't see why you wouldn't want to look further into it with this much public money.
It's not our job to look into it. I would agree it needs to get.
To recommend that someone look into it. That's all I'm asking is that you recommend someone look into it. Somebody professional.
I am reviewing it thoroughly to look at with the
What
council's
information-
office.
do you have any
That's-
information that I don't have?
That's all I can do.
Do you have any information that I don't have?
I don't
Do
know.
you have all the information that I have?
I don't believe I
Do you
do.
want it?
I would.
Can I make
sure,
this a matter of the public record as of right now?
Sure,
All this information? Sure. I'll get it over to you Monday.
yeah, that's fine.
Have a great day. Thanks for your time.
Okay, Mr. Chairman, may
Yes,
I ask, I did not catch the individual's name, but the gentleman that was just speaking, his name, please?
Tony Bethman.
Thank
Thank
you for your time, guys.
Yep.
Please recommend that. Someone look into it.
Any other additional public comment at this time? Hearing none, we'll close public comment. Item number 5. I think we basically have voted on this last month, but she's restating and kind of finalizing all the numbers. Do you want to just talk for a minute on?
Yeah, so this was updated with the agenda on the Agenda Center online, and we will post it on the website after the meeting. So we had, some things in the original tip and budget that we had brought to the last meeting that just have been updated since. So I actually made a quick list. In terms of the new projects, they all stayed the same, except for that we increased the amount for South Hanley Road for design from 32,670 to 40,000, just because there's a little extra stuff to look at now with the added bike ped item. The actual tip itself was revised to include the 50/50 for Frenchtown Main Street that was approved, and remove Forest Bell Road improvements. And then the funding year for the Deer Road reconstruction design was put as 2024, so I moved that to 23. Other changes were just correcting amounts and updating 22 expenditures, updating reimbursement amounts. So I guess in terms of GGL, most of that funding is reimbursed. So you'll see that the numbers on the line item for that are large, but the reimbursements at the top make up a lot of that money. If you want to see more, I actually do have a breakdown of each project and its reimbursement, so I'm happy to share that. We also added 5 million for county road pavement rehab in 23. I think that's coming from trying to help the very, very small cities that got just a little bit of money with maybe actually doing some projects next year. So John Lyons was able to get a lot of work done with the ARPA funds this year. And so maybe we can use a little more next year. I was saying before the meeting, I will be keeping an eye on that fund, because if we have issues with other projects going over, we may pull back out of that. But
So the tip already been sent to the county council,
it has not yet.
so they'll put a $5 million ad. That needs to get voted. I mean, that's 32,000 to 40,000. Okay, that's not material in the big picture of what we got, but
Yeah.
throw another $5 million into this thing. I think that's
Yeah.
got to be done by this board.
I think that's the main one. And then I added some 500,000 for performance measurements to each year, as we're trying to get some good data software to kind of make our data more useful. We have a lot of data coming in and not a lot of ways to use that. So we're looking at some options for that. That was another add-on. And then we rolled the economic development funds to 23 from 22. So it's just the 10 million, added 5 million in reserve. About the GGL reimbursements. And yeah, so yes, I don't disagree that you,
So what, can we go with the idea that as far as the projects, material, everything's the same as last time?
Yep.
This $5 million is obviously brand new.
Yep,
That was not discussed. That was not in our work sessions and all that type of thing.
yep,
We have the money to do that.
yep.
Is this the same where their 5 million will get spent first and then this is more, I don't call it overrun dollars, but then our funds kick in after they've spent money? That's the way the last ARPA deal worked. I guess,
Yes,
so.
if we end up doing it with the cities, that's the way it goes. If it's county highway using any of it,
I
it would
get that,
be,
yeah.
yeah.
All right, I got a question, because I'm on Frenchtown and Gray Streets. It's really not funds to construct the new road because it's just, wasn't it design only?
Yeah.
I mean, that was a 50-50 split. And it's the same thing on Wilmer too, not just maybe you're,
No, it's
maybe
just-
I'm not understanding what was going on here, but
No, you're right. It probably just didn't get, yeah. We'll fix it.
that should be designed, and Wilmer should be the same way. It was just design.
Yep, we'll fix it.
I don't know if there's any others like that those are the two that I caught.
Yeah, I had planned that it would be an action item because there was some change, so. But I would say the projects were already approved.
We should have enough.
You guys give them something
Yeah.
line.
You have, you have 7.
Yeah. Oh, again, I would throw out that we would leave last month's motion as it stood, and then we basically do a new motion to add the 5 million, just leave it at that, unless people have a different opinion, and just.
I'll second that motion.
I can't make.
Oh.
I'll make the motion, or you can make it, and I'll second it.
So the motion's to just add to our tip, the $5 million for street pothole reconstruction with ARPA and all that type of thing, correct?
Yes.
Any questions, Jim, you okay with that?
Yeah. Yes, I am.
Any other discussion? All those in favor, say we're saying aye.
Aye.
I,
Opposed? Thank you. Before we move on, I guess a couple things. Can we get some guidance on this economic development issue since it continues to come up? I mean, I think we need to know we're in bounds. We've been doing this for years, not saying that's right, but, and then I don't want to assume, but I'm sure our county counselor is looking at all contracts and making sure we're compliant, but when these things come up, they need to set eyes on. And maybe we could get a report next month that just someone reviewed it, and if it has, it's really not our purview to wrangle any legal wranglings and all that. But when they come here and unload on us, and we're responsible for some of this, not the legal side, not what projects are proposed, certainly what are approved, and we don't approve them. We recommend them, and the county council does that. So, but this is their forum, which is fine. But I would like potentially just something weighing in on where and how, I guess, historically the economic development came in, just so we're in bounds on that, because we've done a fair amount of that. And then just questions about this particular contract. Again, he's looking primarily at the application, not the contract. And again, we'll go from there. So I don't think this group should have to get mired down in the legality of what contracts we're in and how they are being performed. That's the county's ultimate responsibility on every contract that we go into, I'm sure. But it's being brought up in this forum, so I guess we have to quasi give with it. So.
I'm no lawyer either, but
No,
I am, yes. No, conversations have taken place. It's yes. I will give you an
Just
update.
a question on public comment. Do we have to listen to all the other BS that goes along? I mean, 75% of what he had to say had nothing to do with the road.
No.
And I've heard this other places too. It's not just here, it's.
And in a nice job, getting back
I don't know,
into it, because I was
what-
ready to say, hey, we only want to hear about it affects the road board.
What does a
Yeah.
lawyer say about what are they entitled to make comments? Can they go here and read the yellow pages to us or?
Yeah.
You know any of the rules?
It's basically, it's gonna come down to, if you guys want to put a time limit on the speaking, then that would narrow down, how long they can speak. A lot of times it's 3 minutes. Even for planning and zoning commission, they allow 3 minutes.
Some do, some don't. Okay,
Well, our planning and zoning commission is 3 minutes.
but not all of them. Not all of them, because I'm sitting on one that is limited.
Well, I'm saying the counties.
Okay.
And the council has also a 3-minute time limit. Now, the council requires you to indicate what you're speaking on. Because their policy is you have 3 opposed and 3 in favor of a particular topic. So if you're going all over the place,
That's the, it's not so much, it's just, they're going over all the stuff that don't even belong.
They have a time limit, they'll be forced to narrow it down.
Yeah, or they can have their 3 minutes to read the yellow pages and I will get through it and 3 minutes are off. So
Correct.
I don't want to encourage that though. Well, but again, you're just gonna need to be more succinct. You need to get to your point in 3 minutes. And Tony was here back with the SSM post office deal and same kind of deal. He rambled on for a better part of a half hour and did the same, went to music on
This
Main.
is the second time he's been to one of our meetings.
This is the third time, because you missed the one with the post office, and that was a long, drawn out, and again, he actually read that statement, but it went on for a half hour.
That's what we do.
So.
But if everything he's saying is true, there's questions there.
Yeah,
Well, it is, but it doesn't belong here. He wants to talk about the contract, his interpretation of the contract with the road board. Okay, that's fine. That's relevant to what we're doing here, but all the other stuff with the city of St. Charles and the
and not trying to,
TDD and all
but not
that.
trying to sidestep it, we recommended it, it's a county council issue. They approved, I'm not trying to pass the buck, we're an advisory and we're recommending something and they act on it. But again, I agree, if he's hitting on some kernels of truth in all of this, and some of it's, him drawing conclusions, but there's some truth in some of that, then that's something that somebody should be looking at. So, but that's not our job. So,
Can we rebrand the economic developments? I mean, because we're not really giving money directly to a business to start. I mean, that money's there for construction of a new roadway or to improve a new roadway.
Yeah.
So I mean, maybe there's some way that we just don't call it economic development, but
I think the reason the economic development is a lot of times your traffic count, you're all the kind of things that we would normally hang on a road project is what we did it for BJC, we did it for North Point, I guess. I mean, there certainly are things that, and again, it was transportation or infrastructure related, plain and simple. But again, the reason to do it is to spur on the economic development, not necessarily as a pure road project or whatever. So, and again, I don't know how great that is within the statute, within what, that type of thing, but again, it keeps coming up. So we probably, we're owed kind of a background or information of, is it okay we're doing this?
Yep.
We're not all sitting here saying, oh, well, no, we all wrote that and we know what we intended and we know what, no, we're all just volunteers and this was all formed before anybody was on the board, so. But,
And we're also funding a road to address the impacts of the traffic that's generated due to that economic development. Where if they came in, there's a little narrow 2-lane road out there,
I think like the best example was that North Point development that GM went into. There was no physical way that the number of tractor trailers that were coming in and out of there were going to be able to make that turn. I think there might be some school bus concerns with that, but I mean, that was a good example of how that, widening the road allows more businesses to come in and go out, which then in turn means more dollars, so.
Okay, yeah, no, I can definitely do that.
Okay.
Yeah,
Thank you.
I don't try to do a lot of these. They're not my favorite to do it.
Well, I think they've been well thought out in how we approached them, but again, is it in our purview? I mean, I don't want to just, because we started doing it at one point in time, should it ever get started? I mean, just kind of the history of it, I guess, so. Why don't we move on to presentations of existing TIP projects? We'll start with Darden Prairie.
So, Lindsay, I think, my name is Tom Wise, we're the city engineers for the city of Garden Prairie.
Give me 1 second, Tom, so I have to make sure I'm sharing this with the other. Who's on the phone. I don't think I am yet.
Some of you, so thank you for letting us speak.
Can you guys all see Tom's presentation?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, so first project, this project is complete, so it's good news. If you don't go to the next slide, this is looking south towards actually.
Amanda, sorry
Yes.
to interrupt. I think you're just sharing the edit screen of the PowerPoint, not the actual PowerPoint that you're showing in the room.
Thanks, John. I don't know how to do that. Okay. Oh, yes, I do. Give me a second. Now I gotcha.
Good now?
Yep, that works. Thank you.
Thank you. Oh, thanks.
So thank you. This picture is looking south down that intersection of Spicy Road. And I see way in the background is the bridge, the 364. Behind that is the city hall. So drainage improvements, new concrete, turn lanes, and sidewalk. The next picture. Just looking northerly. Subdivision to the right is Barrington. And that subdivision was used for detouring. So we have actually since completed a bunch of slab replacements in that subdivision. That was done with city money, not the STP project. So project came in just slightly under the construction budget. There was some pluses, just like any project, pluses and minuses. Change orders outweighed the deductions outweighed the additions. So it's very close to actual contract amount. So that's good news. So that is Hanley Road. It's complete. I think all the punch list items have been. As you can see, signed and sprinkling and et cetera. So very successful. So shed a little good news on that.
Thank you.
Underneath. Next project that we have is under, so there are some of the numbers when it comes out. Those are overall total project numbers, but that was from the grant. Should be another slide in there. Lindsay, who's our business manager for our office, is online. She prepared this for us. So, change order number 5, which is the final, is when they close out document. That was a change order deduction, which got us to this point. Everything's being signed now. Of course, it's being processed. HR Green was the designer. Stump Road. Again, HR Green is the designer. The most recent news is we got preliminary plan approval from MoDOT. We also just recently, yesterday, the day before, have received our A date, which means we can begin acquiring the easements and right of way. There's 13 properties. The biggest property that we need a right of way from is this single family home right here. There's not a large amount, it's a long strip. Hard to make the improvements, but there's only two actual right of ways acquiring actual fee simple property. The rest were mostly construction. And so that process has started. City has hired Marlin, so well, right away wires and helps the cities negotiate these processes. So we're under contract with them. So it's essentially from 5Z to the outer road, pretty narrow road, no pedestrian movement. Project does include pedestrian movements and sewer, storm sewer upgrades. So a lot of people walk the road without those. So the anticipated construction actual is not until 2024. We have until next September to have the PSA. Which, until you acquire the property, you don't file it. It's not a fake decision by the questions.
Is that the one that already mentioned? I think it was before you got here, it was mentioned that those two families are preparing to go to.
Potentially, there's been some discussion. We've had many public meetings. There's a creek. The low spot road project is adding a very negligible amount. There's about just to be the flavor. There's almost 100 CFS that flows to that creek. Some side that's at the low spot. Where through the additional pavement, adding the sewers, we're adding about 1.6 CFS. And our drawings have identified through HR Green improvements to the downstream creek as it discharges. It currently discharges two very large pipes. Simply don't. And the head wall consolidate also charges a small percentage of additional flow. However, some channel improvements downstream necessary. There is a large triangular shaped easement. Stay within those improvements. Like any project, there has been some public outcry. People saying that it was not a necessary project. At the next update meeting, I can send you some pictures, but it's a fairly narrow road, not in great shape. Two fairly large subdivisions tie into it, and it's a connector between 5. So, and SDP approved it for a reason. So, but there is opposition. We haven't taken that lightly. I'll say there's been meetings from 2021, public meetings with the subdivision. Garden Acres has some local folks and other subdivisions on the west side is whispering lines. So there has been, along with those two individual homeowners. So just recently have had two different public meetings during our board of. So public is not being ignored in shape or form. We're trying to address some of their concerns, but there are some people that are probably still going to be against the project. They're not being ignored, and we are trying us to address them.
Good.
Thank you.
Thank you. On to the county highway.
Fun. So I'm gonna get you all set up for this to. I apologize.
They're saying, yeah, you got an open.
I have two meetings. workshop.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome. You're good.
Good afternoon, everybody. Chris Bostic, project manager, County Highway Department. I've got a number of projects to talk to you about today, so I will go through them fairly quickly, and if you got any questions, just shout them out. We got 4 that are basically finished up construction or extremely close, a couple more that are starting, will start soon. And then a couple more that may also start this year, and then a few more in design we're going to talk about today. So we'll start with what's done at this point. Okay. We'll start with, at one point we called this David Hopewell Parkway Phase 4. We also call it Hopewell Road and Route In. It's probably had 3 names since it started, but the idea was realign Hopewell Road from here across from Duello and then smooth some curves on Highway In. So this one actually has been around for a long time. We had bid it October of 2020. It started in December and then ran into a bunch of utility delays. So from there, we did not get finished in 21 like we hoped, so it didn't went over into 22 where it didn't finish this spring. So NV West was the contractor, ended up having 7 change orders on the project, some positive, some negative, to the point that when all was said and done, after 7 different addendums, it was ended up being about $2,500 less than bid. Federal reimbursement on this one, say $1,095,000. And then we had in design cost, right away cost. Say, and you'll note these on other slides, $816,232 is actually what was spent on the property. There are some additional costs like title fees, closing, condemnation costs, commissioners fees, some other stuff I haven't aggregated in that total. So it'll be a few $1,000s more, appraisal fees also, things like that. So 816, maybe more like 840,000 when all said and done. But trying to give you the quick rough number of where we're at. So we put together the final bid or the final contract amount, design right away. We're going to be somewhere around 2.8 million. And which does mean we ended up slightly, maybe more than slightly over budget. Originally we were looking at 2,641,000. That project is now fully complete, open to traffic. One picture for you here, and this is approaching the new Hopewell Road. So we went from was a simple 2-lane road to now left turn lane, right turn lane, shoulders, smooth curves. I know there are actually some lingering concerns out there about some of the sight distance still. It's obviously much better than it was before, but within the limits of all the right of way, these roads are cleared it as much as we can. So we're definitely in a much better situation than prior to the project. All right. Move on to another project wrapped up this year. This was phase 2B of Duello Road. We've had a number of Duello Road phase 2 pieces. We built one called 2A from Duello, comes down this way. Elementary Duello. Duello Elementary School here. Old Duello came over this way. We built a piece called 2A a while back up to here to so you can start building the subdivision. 2B is the part from there up to the tie-in to Duello to the north. So this project was awarded to Build Pro. They started it in August, also 2020, and then they ended up pulling off the job over some disputes payments. So it turns out that we ended up finishing the project with local maintenance forces. So that was actually done much earlier this year in the spring. So the project as a result was significantly under budget because contract bid amount, as we'll note here, was 877,000. After a couple change orders, we did approve. It was 911. But when the contractor walked off the job, it was 684,000 is what we ended up paying them. So there's a little additional expense that our maintenance department, in terms of we had to find a overlay the road and use other work primarily at the tie-in on the north end. So we're looking at it's going to be approximately a 750,000 expense. picture or two for you here. And this is, just looking south, looking north. This is where there was no road at all before, so now there's 2 lane, there are turn lanes and intersections where needed. Shoulder, and then there's a sidewalk on the one. So. On to Highway N, Powellville, this was from, Midriver Mall over to Motherhead. This project is, I suppose, technically not complete and that everything closed out, but essentially all the construction work is done other than a couple of minor little repairs. So this is one we bid this year, started in April and said basically had a substantial completion earlier this month, September 7th. Go ahead, Pace is the low bidder, 1.06 million, 2 change orders. Their final amount's going to be less than 985,000. So our final federal reimbursement is going to be about 800,000. All in all, we are going to end up being under budget on this project. We had design cost 169, or just some easements that we had to acquire $4,500. And then total project cost 1.17 million, construction, design, right away. And we had more than that coming back. It's city also. Picture for you here. One thing, the road condition Highway N had been deteriorating pretty rapidly. So we were able to mill that off, put a new surface on there, get some driving down. And then the city had built a trail maybe 3 years ago on the north side. This project included this overlay and sidewalk on the south side.
Sidewalk or for golf carts?
It's got this. One more project wrapped up is Interstate Drive Phase 4. This was from Heffernan Road going west toward South Point Prairie, where they had subdivision and built a stub of Interstate Drive. This project has been around for a very long time. I think looking back at it, we started design in 2010. We had sat on the right of way, primarily because it wasn't funded, federally funded. Since East West Gateway doesn't like roads on the alignment typically, so it was all local funds, all road board funds on this one. Finally acquired a very large tract of right of way to condemnation, the west half project, and then proceeded to bid it last fall. Started in December, clearing work over the winter, and they got into just paving here the last couple months and wrapped this one up at the end of August. Karen Brock was a low bidder. And we had 3 change orders, but a minimal increase to the price, 13,000 or so. Again, no federal funds on the project, so with design plus the right-of-way costs, our total budget, our total projected cost is around 2.4 million. So it technically may be a little higher than what we'd actually regularly budgeted. Quite a lot.
So how, on Interstate Drive, how far does it go from Highway Z continuously?
Go all the way to the new interchange, David Hope Parkway.
Okay.
So we go west of the interchange a little bit, don't you?
Yeah, Shaper Road, actually, right?
Okay.
Yes. So yes, everything is now complete. Talk about another project we're gonna do on the east side, but there is a road in place, right? Prospect to just a picture of what we did out there. Again, it's primarily 2 lane at this point. It has a shoulder. It was built so it can be widened to a 4-lane road at some point in the future. And on the one side was 10-foot trail. These are the ones that are getting into either just starting construction or will be soon. So Central School Road, St. Peter's Isle intersection is where we're really adding lanes or a turn lane. Really building along the pavement that's already there. So did that in spring, April, and started in July. And really since July, very little work has gotten done at this point, construction wise, because there's a large number of utilities, most of which still need to. So water line's been moved now. Spire's done with their gas work. Ameren is waiting on a special composite pole to be delivered, and then they can get their work done as well. And then there'll be some underground telecommunications also. So at this point, it's iffy if it's gonna be able to be finished this year. Most likely not, if I had to guess, just because they've done so little at this point. The NB West is the contractor, so there are no change orders at this point because they've done a little more than just clear some signs up. We get up to $1 million in federal funds, so what we're looking at right now is right on budget, actually. So we're, say, our construction bid, design is just under 200,000, it's over 100,000, so we're at about 1.8, and we're at 1.82 budgeted on this. So what you'll see out there right now is really just some stakes. They have got rid of the sidewalk. What's gonna happen is we're adding an entire lane on the side of the road, so that whole sidewalk's gonna push back. And then that's just some patching out there from utility spiral water line. All right. This project actually just went out to bid. It went out to bid yesterday. We'll open bids October 13th. This is the intersection of Z and N. This is where Highway Z is going to be routed behind the Walgreens, tying into Z and Buckner Road. Does show the future alignment of Highway N to follow Buckner Road out to the west. This project here is just focused on basically from the mobile east to the intersection, and just north of the gas station down to Buckner Road. So intersection realignment project. And so we just advertised, it's a 240 calendar day project. Hope is it will be completed next year. Very little work again on this one, will probably get done this year because there are significant utility delays in the intersection. The one thing they can do is most of this work's on new alignment on the southeast quadrant here, the south leg of the intersection. So they'll be clearing, grading, and otherwise for just traffic. CNN and just be aligned until spring. So right now we're looking at design costs about 200,000 right away again. That is copied from the other slide. I apologize. That's really not correct. Right away cost is over. So I need to get you a different cost projection on that. But I will say that we're almost certainly going to be over budget. We probably will budget on this project. We hope for good bids, and that may make up some of the difference, but the way bidding is moving, it's not the best environment for that right now. Right away cost was substantial. Just the south leg alone was about $3 million. The other ones were a lot less.
Was it condemnation or did you have to, or just that negotiations?
We ended up filing condemnation on, I believe it was 5 parcels, and 4 of those settled before the viewing. Yeah, that was only 1. All I got for you on that one. On to Guru 3, a project that most likely will be advertised for bids this year. GBA was the consultant on this one. Their right-of-way plans approved. We've acquired right-of-way, and they're working on final plan preparation right now. We're going to vote out soon. So we have settled or condemned all parcels necessary. We still have to pay a few of the awards into court. Could happen as soon as this week, and then submit for right-of-way clearance through moment. So we're looking at having the plans to mow out in October, which will hopefully advertise November, open bids December, and then be starting January. It's also significant utility delay out here, but if we can get started soon enough and get them moved before spring, then there's a good chance this could finish in 2023. Right now, it's projecting to be over budget. A lot of that is just based on the construction estimate at this point, looking at the market factors. Originally, we're looking at or under $3 million construction project as of a couple of years ago, and now it's 6 potentially.
So is that why some of these figures are in red here?
I believe so. Sarah Nelson, the project manager, she's the one that developed that spreadsheet,
Okay.
giving just the updates for the projects.
There's a few in here where, there are big differences and those are actually highlighted in red ink. So,
And with the highway department, we try to work with them. So if they're over on one project, we're able to, kind of move some money around. If they save money on one, then we can move that money over to one that they're over budgeted on.
Project could go to bid fairly soon is Interstate Drive. We're talking about Interstate Drive is all the way at the far east end. So Prospect Road over to Quail Ridge Park. So Associates as a consultant, right away, plan has been approved, we're acquiring property, we're nearly done. There's 3 parcels that are left. 2 of those 3 are in agreement, just waiting on documents. We've condemned no one at this point, everyone is settled thus far. And final plans have been submitted to MoDOT and are under. So as soon as those parcels have settled, we can get the right-of-way clearance. I believe the plans will be approved in October. So again, we're looking at advertising November, December, of the award January, and then could be starting in February. That same thing as a project that could be completed within the calendar year if they can get enough work done, not being impacted by utilities. Utilities aren't a major problem, but there's always something on the system. So right now, it's definitely, again, projecting over budget. Design right away about where we anticipated the construction cost, though, again, it's projecting. I actually considerably higher. This is another one that should have been about a $3 million project. And this engineer's estimate was so I'm hoping that's not the case. They're overly conservative on that, but it's hard to say. Phase of Snow Road. We were talking about developing Dwellow Road Foods up there. Dwellow Road 3A is a federally funded project that is down by the intersection that was just done at Hopewell and N. So this is the piece from there past the road and a little bit to it. So on this one is Great River Engineering. They have preliminary plans approved and right-of-way plans approved. So at this point, we are ready to start right-of-way acquisition. Hope is to send out offer letters October, November. It's primarily just easements. There's some right away, but not a significant amount. We would look at this point to bid in 2023. We started late into next year, probably winter over with utility relocations. So at this point, they will be under budget on this, but I think so far out at this point, it's hard to say. We require no right of way. Design cost was low. Right of way costs should be low since it's not really used. But it'll all come down to that construction bid. It's not a terribly long project, but it should be adequate to build this.
so in here, they're saying that it was only budgeted like 1.6. You got $1 million from the federal government,
Yes.
correct?
That sometimes doesn't show up on your spreadsheets, right? Because of the way our funds work. That million doesn't go into the project. It just goes like a general fund. So it'd be like $1.6 million road work plus the federal. That's not too bad.
That is how for the highway department, we account for any federal money.
Okay,
It will pay that out, and then when they file the reimbursement for the federal, then roads and traffic, we get that money back. So that offsets. So that's how we have to do with the county highway projects.
For you here that are farther out. So this project is the kind of 2-in-1. It's a roundabout at Dyer Road, around DD, and also the extension of Lake St. Louis Boulevard south, including bridge structure through this property. So we had done a public meeting back in July 2021, to talk about intersection options. Roundabout was the preferred option there, both by ODOT. You are getting residents in the area. So from there, we worked on preliminary plans to a point. We started environmental clearance work, and then we run into a bunch of hurdles since that point. Nothing insurmountable, but it's just been a lot of coordination and a lot of additional work. Now I'm going to do some archaeological work to look at some of the structures here and just the property in general. I had to do we found out through Army Corps of Engineers and U.S. Fish and Wildlife that there was a very large maternity tree for Indiana bass, which are endangered. And it just so happened to be in the middle of this property. So we had to hire a consultant, send them out there, and they believe they located the tree, but the tree fell down. So it's no longer ships habitat anymore. So now they're working on an assessment, because there are other trees in that. It's a very large catch. I forget how big that parcel is, 15.
They have a bank consultant.
Yes, we do. We do. We spend about $1,000 on back consultants at this point.
That's not bad from.
Yep, yes, indeed. So we believe, at one point, yes, when they're talking about it being a regionally significant maternity roost tree, that they might not project. Now that tree's gone, and there is other habitat for them in the area. It appears we'll be able to move forward with the project. And then the last thing that need to be done, that's kind of typical, is just wetland delineation. So that we're back area satisfied with the board. So we're still working through all of that. It'll be the assessment work, like the big paperwork document on all that stuff, is coming to us next month. I think it's Fish and Wildlife. See. See how yes. So yeah, that will not. Actually, there's no construction funds on this project anyway. It's just been a design right away project. So probably talk more next year about construction funds once we know. And lastly, this is another project that's been lingering a long time because it's not federal funded. So basically, anytime you have a priority for right-of-way acquisition on a federal project, this one keeps getting put on the back burner. But eventually, it need to get done. This is one point is called David Hokel Parkway Phase 1B, and now it's Route N Phase 4. So it's Route N north, leaving out the piece we done at Jackson Road several years ago, and picking up southern project that finished that tied into the cities where we extended Interstate Drive and Street Road. So it's a relatively long stretch of roadway here. Warren Chipman's been the consultant. We've been acquiring right away for probably 2 years at this point, perhaps even longer. And we're going to actually go back and look at the final plans now, since they're going to be dated. Have the consultant update them so it better matches some of the other segments of road that are. So we won't have that same general feel. So we were 11 out of 24 parcels acquired. At the time, we basically put it aside. There were maybe just a few that would settle, the majority would probably go to condemnation. So setting that time aside to make that happen. Though, if that gets done in 23, there's a chance we could find this. But at this point, it's so old, I don't even have a right of cost. All right. That is it.
Questions? Thank you very much. Anything else for this evening? Next meeting will be Wednesday, October 19th. I'm here from some of the other municipalities on there with our project updates. For a motion to adjourn? Second. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Thank you.